On my upbringing, I was raised in Toowoomba. I'm the firstborn of twins, and I have a beautiful sister and a brother.
Yeah, so we had a pretty good upbringing, and we went to private schools and we were well educated. But at that stage, we didn't know that we were Indigenous, so it was a big secret in the family. So, my grandfather was a part of the stolen generation, and he was stolen. And we were always brought up to understand that we were Spanish, because they were still stealing children in the 60s and the 50s and the 70s, and our grandfather didn't want us to be stolen, so it was a big secret.
So what Wendy and I used to do is we'd go out the back onto some concrete and have tap shoes and do tap dancing and have kalakas, and we thought we were Spanish. Now, when I became aware of that I was Indigenous when my cousin actually came to me and said, "Did you realise that we're Indigenous? I've been doing my family tree." And then she had already done a lot of research, and we just sort of followed up on it. And gradually we found our tribe, and we found the family, and were embraced by them. It was so moving when we met Heather and Stuart and all the people from our tribe. So with a lot of following up and with help from my husband, because he's really the researcher of the family, we got in contact with a lot of our relatives, and it was just so emotional. It was like we'd come home, and they just embraced us, and they still do. Absolutely beautiful people, and we're all part of the Iman tribe.
I was working overseas at the time, and I got a telephone call from my twin sister Susan, and she said that she'd been speaking to our cousin, and our cousin did the family tree, and she really researched it, so she found out that we were Indigenous, but that's all we knew. We didn't know who our family was or where they came from. So when we do our art, all the other things we found out from our family, because we've caught up with the rest of the family, they tell us little bits and pieces, because we didn't know the language or the symbols or really how to do anything, but we always had a history of creating art.
One day Wendy just said to me, "Well, you should get into some Indigenous painting." And I said, "Well, if I'm going to, you can too." And she said, "I can't do a stick person." And I said, "Well, you'll just have to learn." And so we both sort of started from scratch and learned a lot of the traditional symbols, and fortunately, after we'd done about 6 paintings, somebody offered us an exhibition, and so we said yes to the exhibition, and then within 2 weeks we were offered a permanent position as feature artists at the Henderson Gallery at South Bank. And we thought, we haven't got enough paintings. What are we going to do? What are we going to? So we were just working day and night, night and day, just painting, 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 painting.
Susan and I were permanent residents at the main art gallery in Brisbane for Indigenous painters. One of the chaps there, he's one of the owners, he's a very wonderful artist, Wayne Weaver. And one of the things he said was, "Why do you paint?" And I thought, "Oh, because we like it, or, I love creating things." And he said, "No, definitely not. The reason why you should be painting is to pass on history." He said, "You have an obligation to do that." And so that stuck in my mind. I thought, I really want to pass that on. So any stories that people tell me, it might be because we didn't know any stories when we were younger. Any stories that people tell me, I normally do a painting on it. I never know how it's going to start and how it's going to finish. And, I feel like I've just been led in the same way as Susan's been led, but in a slightly different way.
My twin sister and I are both artists, and it's just wonderful to be doing art with her, except her style is totally different from my style. But every so often we get together and we do a collaboration. And I think in our whole lives have only ever had 2 arguments. Maybe they've lasted for about 5 minutes each. We just seem to know what our roles are. And so when we do a collaboration, it just runs really smooth. No debate or questioning. It's just done, dusted and over. And then she goes back to doing her style and I go back to doing my style, and the collaborations are somewhere in the middle. In relation to my art, I feel like the ancestors, including Maggie, including my grandfather, they're all around me. They're all around me, guiding me. And I'm just really happy to sort of have their influence on my art. And I'll continue to listen to them, what they think I should do. Quite often I get stuck and I just don't know what to do, and I'll just ask them, can you help me here? And then all of a sudden I'm back to work again, and I can be sitting here at 3 o'clock in the morning and just looking out, and I see them, I feel them. I start off a painting and most of the time I don't even know what I'm going to do. Sometimes I just have some colours in my head and maybe a bit of an idea. And then when I finish it, I think, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like. And I'm a little bit like that in gardening and when I'm on the land as well. You know, something spiritual must just come over me, and I feel very at peace doing the art. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and maybe I should be teaching as well. So we'll just see what happens. Let that one unfold. I think the meaningful paintings that I've done are things that result in a lot of emotion, reflecting back to the ancestors' ancient times, how they must have felt, how beautiful the country was and how they survived and ate really healthy foods. You know, people say that they were nomads, but they were very much not nomads. They often were just in tribal situations where they were just in one place, raising their children, raising their families, eating good food, loving the land, living off the land. The Iman tribe was, a long time ago there was a war, and a lot of them were being killed, and so they tried to run away from all the danger, and they ran into Taroom, and there was a big hill, Bonner's Knob. And so they sort of hid out on the hill for safety, and then after a while they were taken from the hill and taken to Bundalla, and from Bundalla they were marched to Cherbourg and Warrabinda. They had a lot of struggles when they were finally put into the missions, separated from their land and their people and their culture. It's nice to know that they can talk about it and they're trying to heal, but what a lot of people don't realise is that with all that trauma, they've carried that on through generations and been taken away from their land and their food and their culture and all the people that they love. My great-grandmother, Maggie Dunn, she had a lot of children, and some were taken, and some of them she never saw again. And so if you can imagine if somebody just came in and took one of your children away from you, how you would feel. And my people have actually suffered this for a very long time, and it's still happening now. So I hope things are changing, and I hope my people actually find peace.
I'm always thinking of her, and the hardship that she went through, and you know, we're here enjoying her legacy, really. And that goes for all the other Aboriginal people that lost people, and like, she never saw her children again after they were stolen. That's very tragic. I'm so lucky to be here because of that. And I appreciate it. I appreciate everything that she did and she went through, and I feel it. I feel it. And I tell my children and my grandchildren how wonderful she must have been.
Everybody's getting through it, and Maggie was a really strong woman, and hopefully I'm as strong as what she is, and we can serve purpose in our life and do some wonderful things. I love living in Taroom, and I love connecting with the people and the country and the culture. And, you know, I can do the normal traditional symbols and put that in a painting, but I sort of feel like I've been encouraged by my ancestors to do something a little bit different. And so that's what I choose to do. And people tend to like that. I like my paintings to be happy, if they can be happy. If not, have some sort of a meaning behind them, but not in too much detail. My paintings are very textured. Sometimes there's some really sharp points, other times they're flat, and everybody finds them intriguing. So long as they continue to sort of go along that path, I'm quite happy about it. It's very relaxing, it's lovely. In my tribe, the Iman tribe, my totem is a turtle, and I love turtles. I'm very attached to them, but I'm not allowed to eat them as if I'd want to. Each family has a totem, and that means you have to protect that animal or creature, and you have to make sure that their environments are safe. And back in the old days, they used to not eat their totems so that the food chain all got shared around. And it's a shame we don't do something like that in this day and age. They need to look back on the old ways with the old medicines. We can do everything. We can protect our environment, look after the animals and the creatures, and we can feed the world 10 times over if we do it right.